Hello adventurers, it is I, Solo Adventure, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And today it is a Wednesday, but for July on Wednesdays, I will be continuing my new solo tabletop RPG beginner series. So the series is titled How to Structure Your Solo Tabletop RPG Adventure. So we covered part 1 last week, which is how to make adventure prompts. And now, for part 2, we are covering how to set the scene. And so, this will be the start of your solo tabletop RPG adventure. And I will also warn you that this is the hard part. I truly believe this is the part that actually gets people to kind of forget and just give up on solo tabletop RPGs. But trust me, it is going to be hard, and I honestly don't think it clicks right away for people. And so if you're struggling with figuring out how to set that first scene, I really genuinely hope that the way that I do it, I hope that it helps you out. And if you have ideas, feel free to share with me in the comments as well. But please don't give up on your solo tabletop RPG adventure. This video will help you how to set that first scene. So last week we covered all about adventure prompts. So once you have your adventure prompts, you are now ready to play and you are ready to set the first scene up. So for your adventure prompt, you have to, I guess, be aware of kind of how your world is structured and how it's made, who the NPCs are, who the antagonist is, and of course who your PC is. So once you have all of that kind of set, and then you have your adventure prompt and you're about to start your first scene, you have to remember that your PC is in the world that you created. So to kind of give you some imagery, my example from last time, from the last video, we came up with an adventure prompt of a PC exploring some uncharted seas to find treasure that's kind of hidden in the deep waters of the world that I created. So keep in mind, this is very bare bones. Nothing is really super fleshed out here, but we'll continue with this idea. So with this image, I actually have an idea of possibly how to set my first scene. I am imagining that my PC, he is on a ship and he is currently traveling in the deep seas. So this is kind of my imagery of how I'm thinking of how I want to set the first scene. So you have your PC and your PC is living in the world. Think about the tone and the genre of the campaign that you are creating. Is it dark? Is it cozy? Is it little more on like the whimsical side? And number 2, remember that your PC has a life. Your PC is currently living a life. What are your PC's hobbies? Does your PC currently have a job? Is your PC trying to find a job? Does your PC have a group of friends, a family that they like to hang out with during the day? Is your PC in danger? Is the PC like a wanted person or something? Or maybe the PC is being chased down by someone. So you just have to really think about their daily routine. Think about, you don't have to go super into deep detail, but you can just think about, okay, how would my PC start their day? And then how would they end their day? Is there someone that they like to come home to? Maybe a lover, maybe family, or just a group of friends that they like to hang out with. So once you really figure out your PC and the PC backstory, and you think about their daily routine, now you can finally think about how would you want your PC to hear about the adventure prompt. So for me, the adventure prompt is my PC will explore the uncharted seas to find treasure. And how I'm imagining this is my PC actually hears about this prompt from his husband. So his husband has been told stories of hidden treasure under the waters, and knowing that this family is more on like the poor side, and my PC is definitely a man who wants to try to provide for his family. He wants to explore those uncharted seas to get that treasure. So how I am picturing that my PC hears about this adventure prompt is actually from his husband's stories over the years. So once you are very comfortable with knowing how your PC is living in the world, now we can start these 5 steps here. So number 1, what is the scene objective? So always start small here. And so for me, my scene objective is to figure out how I want my PC to learn about this adventure prompt, which is the uncharted seas. So how I'm kind of picturing it is an example would be to gather info, or maybe my PC wants to meet someone. And so how I'm kind of picturing it is my PC, I'll give him a name so it'll just be easier at this point. We'll call him Henry. Okay, so Henry is a warrior and his husband is a sailor. And so his husband, with his like sailor experience and stuff, he's told his family stories about the treasure. And so how I'm kind of wanting to set that scene objective is to meet someone, to gather more information about the hidden treasures. Because right now, all he's heard from his husband are stories. So now he's trying to, I think Henry would want to try to do a little more research here. So that is how you would start, is to figure out the scene objective. So just to give you some examples of how different tools that could help you set that scene objective is if you are going blank, okay, like if you are not really having any ideas or something, I have these tools that are really helpful. And so, of course, for the old school revival solo role-playing guide, you can use this complex questions table to kind of help with the scene objective. So maybe if you want, we can do why, or we can do what or who. So let's do that as an example here. So let's see what we roll. Okay, so we got a 7. So a 7 would be commoner for who. Okay, and then let's see. We got a 4. We can do why or something. So, okay, here. So commoner and learn for 4. And then we got 7 again, resources. Okay, so how I am, this is all in a whim by the way, but how I'm interpreting commoner, resources, and learn is that my PC, he would want to travel into the village and maybe meet a couple of his husband's maybe like sailor or like fisherman friends who have heard of the uncharted seas, and maybe he can ask around about maybe potential like maps of the uncharted seas, of like what past sailors might imagine what the uncharted seas might like look like or something. Or he could look for rumors, like maybe there is a map, but that map is actually missing. And maybe my PC can learn more about this map that needs to be discovered. So that is the scene objective. Starting small and figuring out what you want your PC to do. Do you want your PC to at least gather information or meet someone? So in my case, for Henry here, I want my character to, number 1, to meet someone who knows about the maybe a map or something. So we'll say that. A map for possibly the uncharted seas, meet someone, try to ask around if there is maybe a map of some sort. Or I can also ask, yeah, so I'll say meet someone in town. Maybe at like a fisherman village, or I don't know, like a hub of some sort. Maybe some sort of area on the docks that fishermen like to hang out in or something. So that would be the scene objective. So choose the setting is number 2. So where is this scene happening? And you can also use your senses. Like, what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? And so I know for me, there are some random tables that I like to use for kind of setting the weather. I think weather actually adds a nice like effect to adventures. So here in, let's see, we can use Mythic now and kind of go into some ideas for setting the scene here. Like, we can do the adventure tone table. Let's see what else. We can also do, I think there's a weather table in here. Or am I confusing it with something else? Oh yeah, smells. This would be interesting. Let's try smells, actually. I kind of like that idea. So we'll do smells. So for me, I already decided that for my PC, I want the starting scene to happen at a fisherman kind of hub or port. And let's see what he would smell. So we got 99. And then it says here, okay, weather. So it says here, weather. How I'm kind of interpreting that is probably the smell of water, maybe fish, the weather. I kind of imagine a rain for some reason. So I'm kind of picturing like he can smell the rain, I guess. And then for sounds here, we can do sounds here. So we got 25. Is my character hearing anything? Oh, something creepy. So maybe there are some stories that these fishermen have lived and an experience of just like creepy things maybe that they've seen in the distance as they're wandering in the waters. Or maybe they've heard of stories of lost ships out in sea. And so that could be an example of just using your senses. And if you do want to set the scene for weather, I swear I thought there was a weather table in here. I guess not. I think I'm confusing that with something else. But for weather, I feel like I would also use maybe the adventure tone, maybe. And then this is where I like to push the interpretations a little bit. So we got 68. So mistrust, okay? So mistrust, and what else? Oh, we got 68 again. Okay, mistrust. So how I'm interpreting mistrust and kind of the weather and the rain, I'm actually imagining it to be quite stormy out. So, and knowing that the fishermen are probably very wary and scared of like storms, especially if there are ships out in storms. That is kind of how I'm interpreting mistrust and how I can use that to tie in to the tone of my setting. So again, that's an example of kind of pushing the meaning there, but I think that is also kind of what I just enjoy doing anyways, is to try to find out ways to just push meanings behind certain words that I've rolled for. So that is an example. So for choosing the setting, so it's the fisherman village hub, and it's rainy, stormy, and there are Henry's overhearing stories of creepy monsters out in sea, maybe stories of like lost ships. So yeah, that is how I am interpreting those results there. So that is number 2. So that is where you choose the setting. And so now for number 3, this is the part that can get really hard for people to grasp, but you can add tension and twists, but you don't want to add too much. I like to suggest, especially for beginners, to pick 1 to 2 random events or twists. And so you can utilize random events tables. And like what I just did earlier, this is where you can actually push the interpretation behind certain words that you roll for. So you saw an example of how I use my old school revival solo role-playing guide, and then mythic, and then for any kind of random event stuff, I actually really like to use the adventure crafter. So for random events, this is a really good tool if you want to try to come up with different twists in the scene. So the scene hasn't started yet. We're still setting this up. And so let's say right now I want a scene of like tension of some sort. So here we can roll and see. So, okay, so we got 38. So for 38, here we go. We got useful information from a known source. So a character acquires useful information from a known source. For instance, a detective investigating a homicide gets a tip from an informant she sometimes uses, giving her a clue. So useful information from a known source. So how I'm actually interpreting that as a random event is I'm actually picturing maybe a new NPC that comes into the scene, and maybe this NPC Henry hasn't seen in years. So I'm interpreting a random event that happens. NPC comes in with useful info. All right, so useful info to hopefully point him more to maybe finding a map of kind of where the treasure is, maybe to guide him through those uncharted seas. Useful info for maybe, maybe like joining. So hold on, first it would be map, it would be treasure, maybe a crew that he could join to find where that treasure is. So this NPC, that could be the random event. So as he's listening in at the fisherman hub of these different rumors and such, this NPC will flag him down and he recognizes Henry and he will give some useful info here. So that could be the random event. So I'm just going to pick one for this example here, but that could be a random event for the scene. And then number 4, we would start with an action. So how I like to start off scenes is I love picturing what my PC would be doing. So instead of like my PC just standing or like sitting there, he would be doing something else. And so it could be the most logical action, and you as the GM, because yes, you're playing, but you're also the GM, you can just choose what your PC could be doing. Or you can even grab like a random table of verbs or something to kind of show what kind of action that PC would be doing in that first scene. So I know for me, I love using this table here to kind of set that first scene for character kind of actions. So I'll probably be rolling on this table here. So let's see. Okay, so we got an 83. So something simple, okay? What else? Let's see. Simple, and then defiant. So how I'm interpreting defiant and simple. So defiance would be like disobedience or like resistance, right? And so I'm gonna write that down really quick before I forget. So to start the scene, so my PC is doing something simple and resistance / defiant. Yeah. Okay. So how I'm kind of interpreting this is, I don't know why, but this idea kind of came to mind. But I have this idea that Henry over here likes to gamble. But Henry's husband, we'll call him, I don't know, Charles? Okay, so Henry's husband, Charles, doesn't like Henry gambling. And so how I'm kind of picturing it is how this PC is learning about these different stories and rumors is he's actually starting the scene at a gambling table, and they're playing games and such. So gambling table. So that's how I'm interpreting resistance and defiant. So that's something that his husband doesn't like, since they are on the poorer side. And he does have a good heart, like he does want to provide for his family, and so he's probably thinking that he's lucky tonight or something. He's thinking that he's lucky and that he would get some money back from what he's like betting on and gambling. So how I'm kind of picturing the scene is there is this fisherman hub, and there's some like tables for the fishermen to like chill and like rest, and there are a couple tables where the fishermen are gambling, and Henry likes to gamble, and he knows that that is against what Charles believes in. So Charles doesn't think gambling is good. He thinks that it's like a waste, but Henry likes gambling, and so that is how the scene is starting out. And then a random event eventually, which will happen, is an NPC will approach Henry with some useful info about the treasure, possibly, or maybe a map, or maybe even crew that Henry could join for his venture into the seas. So that could be the start of the scene. And then number 5, we would play the scene out, and our PC will react. Does the PC succeed? Does the PC fail? Does the PC partly fail? And so once the objective is resolved, then we start the next scene. So once the PC has met that objective, and that objective is resolved, which is he needs to meet someone to get some more info, then we can start the next scene. Okay, so for how we will begin, we will start the scene here. Okay, so we will just use these couple minis here, and we'll set the scene, and I'll make a little section here to write some notes. So we have just set our first scene, and now we can finally play the scene out. All right, so we will choose this guy. So this guy is Henry, and Henry is a warrior, and he has a lovely husband. His name is Charles, and they have 2 kids, and they are on the poorer side. And Henry, he has a good heart. Like, he loves to try to provide for the family, make his husband Charles happy. But he does have a weakness, and he does like to gamble. So that is my PC's kind of flaw there. So he likes to gamble. But he has also heard from his husband stories of just so much treasure and gold that is just lying under the waters in the uncharted seas. He has decided to go for that adventure, and he wants to try to find some more information about the story. And so it is also a story that the local village that he's in, that they know of. And so he has some ideas that maybe the local fishermen at the fisherman hub would know more about this story of treasure. Here we have Henry. So Henry is starting the scene, and I will say it is late at night, and it is stormy out. It is stormy outside. It's raining, and usually at night is the best time for fishermen to like gather and rest and just have good laughs and drinks. And so he thinks that this would be the perfect time then to kind of hear more about the stories of treasure and as well as gamble. And so he's kind of snuck out of the house right now because he doesn't want Charles to know that he's out gambling. And so he is walking towards the fisherman hub. And so we have over here a couple of a couple of fishermen at this table, and they are gambling. And so Henry over here, he is looking forward to seeing what the game is, and he wants to join and participate. And so let's see what the tone is like of kind of the tone at the table. Like I'm wondering, are they welcoming, or are they kind of just to themselves and not really paying attention to Henry, who would like to join and participate? So we will roll on the fate chart, and it is 50-50. And so let's ask the fate chart if these guys are welcoming. Are the fishermen welcoming for Henry to join their gambling game or something? Okay, so was that a 98? I think that was. Okay, so that is definitely no. So they're probably telling him to back off, and they don't want him to participate in the gambling game here. And so I do want Henry to try to convince them to join, because what if he can make some money tonight? So we'll see. So we will roll for a charisma check. And please note, this is just an example, and so I don't have like a system here that I'm using of like rules, but we will use my old school revival solo role-playing guide for modified checks. So yeah, let's see. So we'll roll a d6, and a 1 is a success. Okay, so we got a 3, so it is a partial success here. So maybe they're saying that if you want to join, he has to pay. Maybe he has to pay a certain amount of money, a fee or something to join. So he's telling him, well, if you want to play with us, you gotta pay up, sir. And so I would say like Henry would want to. So Henry's giving some money to finally let them join, let him join and play. Okay, so now they are gambling, and let's see, and let's ask the fate chart if the NPC here, the random event, if this NPC would kind of come at this moment just as Henry is about to play a game. So we'll say it is 50-50. Whoops. Oh my goodness, I was gonna fall. Okay, so we got a 40, and we said 50-50, so yes. So at this point, just as he is about to begin and place his bets, we have here NPC coming in, and he recognizes Henry. And so he flags down Henry, and he taps on his shoulder, actually. Yeah, I like that. He taps on his shoulder, and he says, "Henry, it is me." And we'll see kind of who... Actually, we'll use our mythic here. We'll see who this NPC is, and if this NPC is friendly. So first, let's see character identity. So we'll roll on this table here, and let's see. Okay, so we got 76. Okay, public. Interesting. Maybe like a public figure, like a well-known figure in the village. And we got 91. We got subverter. And how I'm interpreting subverter is someone who destroys established like governments or like political systems or something. So maybe like a rebel of some sort. And so maybe he is he like a friend or something? So he is, so how I'm interpreting it is there's this rebel who is well known in the fisherman village and hub. And he is someone that doesn't like the government. We'll just say that. We don't need to come up with like a crazy backstory right now for this person. But now we will see kind of who this person is, some more details. And now we will switch over to Adventure Crafter to kind of see who this new NPC is. And please keep in mind, I am switching between resources, and you totally do not need to do that. Like, you could just stick to one resource and just use that and play a game with just one. You don't need like all three of these. I'm just giving examples of how I use my resources here. So let's see. So we'll roll. So we got 62 over here. Religious. Oh, interesting. Okay. So maybe he is into a religion maybe that is against kind of the government system, and he is well known in the church or something. So I kind of like that idea. And let's see who this special trait is. Okay, we got a 12. So a 12 is just an individual. Okay. All right. And so let's see. Is this NPC a friend? We can ask. Actually, yeah, why not? Let's use this to kind of change it up here. Is this friend, is this NPC a friend? So we got 5, 6, 7. Yes. Okay. So this NPC is a friend. Okay, so we will write out the scene for a little bit. So we have Henry here, and he's at the gambling table. But we have an NPC here who calls over and recognizes Henry. And this person is a friend. So they've definitely know each other. This NPC is religious, but he's also kind of on the rebellious side against the government. And so maybe how I'm kind of interpreting this is maybe this NPC, we will call him, I'll just give him a name here. We will call him Scander or something. Okay, so we have here Scander. So Scander is telling Henry, I would imagine he would have some useful info. And so I'm kind of thinking, what if Scander actually has a crew and he wants to invite Henry to join the crew to find the treasure. So I'm going to ask the chart here if that is what that means, is maybe this NPC has a crew and he wants to invite Henry to join. So let's see, so we got 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that is a yes. So Henry will probably pause on the game here, and he'll say, wow, Scander, I haven't seen you in ages. It's been so long. And Scander over here is saying, yes, I know. I've been actually wanting to invite you out to my crew of fishermen and sailors. We've got a big boat, and we want to explore the uncharted seas. And let's see if he knows of the treasure. I would assume that he would know more about the treasure. Scander over here. So we got 4. Okay, so we got 4, 4. And so I think that is a no. So 4, 4 is a no. Okay, so Scander doesn't know about the treasure. So Skander is inviting Henry to join his sailor crew, but he doesn't know about the treasure. So he doesn't know about the treasure. And maybe that could be a good thing, because that could definitely cause a divide between. I wonder why they are wanting to go into the uncharted seas. So let's roll d10 here under Y. So we got a 5, and that is resist. Okay, so maybe there is, how I'm kind of picturing this is resist. So maybe there are some pirates in this uncharted seas, and they want to get rid of the pirates, I would say. So that's kind of how I am picturing that. So this guy's wanting to get rid of pirates to definitely help kind of protect and secure the fisherman village or town. So that is kind of why he's inviting Henry, and Henry is a warrior, so that makes sense. So he is inviting him to join on this quest. And maybe Henry would probably want to say yes. He wants to accept this this adventure, because maybe this will be his way to kind of figure out where that treasure is. So he kind of found like a loophole to try to locate the treasure. So that is how I am picturing the first scene to play out in this example. That is an example of how we just set up and we played the first scene. So as you can see here, this is the setup of the scene, and we used our imagination, we used some random tables to set up the first scene, and then we played the first scene as well. So that is how you set up your first scene and you play, and that is kind of how you play out scenes. And so this is my example and my process for creating the first scene. And so now that the objective is resolved, he met someone who knows about some useful information, and now we can continue and craft the next scene. You can play it like this, where there's not too much structure in the story, and it's just kind of full of surprises as you keep rolling on random tables and such. But there's also another way where I've played it, where I actually kind of mapped out the beginning, the middle, and end of an entire campaign. And so for each part, I had like a couple of scenes and a couple of twists in the beginning, the middle, and the end. Or depending on how certain scenes played out, that would give different possible endings. So you can totally go like that, or you can just kind of play as you can set the scene as you go and play the campaign. So I hope this example was helpful, and that it gives you some ideas of how to craft your very own first scene of your solo tabletop RPG adventure. So just to summarize, make sure you figure out the scene objective, you choose the setting, and then you add tension, twists, but not too much. Then you start with an action. So maybe your PC is currently in the middle of doing something. And then 5, you play the scene out and you react. So I hope that this was really helpful for you guys. And of course, if you have any tips and you have played like tabletop RPGs for a while and you want to give your own tips, feel free to leave that in the comments. And if you are new to this, I really hope that this video helped. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will do my best to give answers, ideas, or send even resources if you need. But again, thank you so much, Adventures, for joining me in this July series for beginner tabletop RPG players. So I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait to see you for the next one in this series. Until next time.